Well, I was sitting on the fence and I sneezed and it blew my disc out right there.
Oh, dang.
It'd have been scary for anybody to see it probably, but I guess thank God we all survived. So just a great big old huge bucker, and that's what she bailed out of there and bucked, and like she kind of set me up there for the kill and like that. Thankfully I was there basically right at the tweeter, and like that, when like just as soon as that tweeter blows, then I fall off of there and land on my back and separate ribs. I decided once I got back, then oh, dang, sorry.
That's all right. You want to take a moment? Welcome to the Rodeo Time Podcast. We've got in the house Mr. Billy Etbauer. Man, the standard in saddle bronc riding. I mean, 51 round wins is just insane. 5 world titles, right?
Yes, sir.
And 21 total appearances for the NFR.
Yeah.
That's wild. And I feel like every bronc rider out there at least like thinks about you in their bronc riding many times, but whenever they go to do the math on how long they're going to be a bronc rider, it's like, well, Billy, he rodeoed till he was, so that means I have, but you're just a unique, you're the unicorn in bronc riding. And I've got a bunch of questions, but to be honest, I'd really like to just start with your story, and you just start at the beginning of rodeo for you, and you just kind of walk us through what that looked like.
Yeah, well, just growing up in South Dakota, and we're basically 30 miles from the closest grocery store or anything else, so we're out there in the sticks. So, basically all we had was horses and cows back in the day, and one great big old bike that you could push up the top of the hill and put one of us on it and send them down the hill, because you wasn't big enough to reach the pedals or nothing like that. You'd stand on the pedals and just roll down the hill, So, but like that, just, like when we're calving, being out there, and a guy should have never been doing this, but just jumping on cows, when they're laying down and doing all the stuff that the boys are going to do to just play around and eat up or just have fun in the time you got. So,
because you guys grew up ranching,
yeah,
and cow calf deal,
yeah, and like that, I'm a jack of all and a master of none, because between putting the Milo, the corn, the oat, and putting up our own hay, we were a self-contained ranch, and so we had the 300 head of mama cows basically every year, and we'd always keep 50 head of replacement heifers every year, and so when we weaned, then we fed all those calves ourselves, and when we actually fattened the cattle to where when they left the ranch, they were going to slaughter. So
dang,
we went through the whole processes of doing the whole thing and basically, like I say, doing everything ourselves.
What do they call that? A vertical integration?
Yeah,
one
crazy.
operation does it all.
Yeah,
you do the whole thing from start to finish.
Yeah.
So at what point were you introduced to rodeo?
Well, like that, I guess we kind of always grew up just kind of playing cowboy. Like my dad, he always, Lyle, he was always, we always had horses growing up, so they were always starting them when I was younger. And Dad, like when he was young, like 30 years old, he blew his knee out. So like that, Dad, you never had to worry about Dad catching you if you got into trouble, because all you had to do was take off and Dad's knee would fall out,
Yeah.
So he was always riding and working and stuff, but back in those days, they wasn't going to replace a knee and stuff like that. So, but like that, he liked the team roping part, and he did a little bit of team roping, but like just as soon as we were old enough to have a rope in our hand, then we were playing and like that, riding all day. And that's what we're with, having 900 head, like when you get the calves and yearlings and everything on the ground, you got 900 plus head of cattle around there. So you're always roping and riding and this and that and playing cowboy. And so that's what we were just trying to play cowboy all the time.
Really? Yeah. Y'all got to rope quite a bit though.
Well, just the ranch roping, and
Right.
Dad went to a few little jackpots there, and I guess really back then it was just entertainment for us. We'd help run the chutes and stuff like that, but we'd, it was kind of like back in those days that they'd always have the card parties, and all the kids would be there playing outside or whatever have you, and the adults are all inside playing cards and stuff like that. So the ropings back in that time was kind of about the same way. All the kids was out playing somewhere, and they'd just have a little jackpot. So
Yeah.
uh, like that, we had a lot of like between the Cowans, the Fultons, and we had a lot of people that around there, junior high school rodeo and 4-H rodeo, and did a lot of that, and so everything close to the house we were able to go to. But as soon as you like going to the national finals or the high school finals or the like that, we was never able to go to that. Between not making it and not being able to fund to go to, like, I think the one year it was up there in Washington, when I actually made it like in the calf roping, but there's no way I could never rope calves near that good to really be there, but through the deal, then we made it. But like Brian Fulton, he goes up there, and I think that year, I think maybe Brian won the world in the high school deal, so we always played with the rodeo people around there, and they always were good to help us out and do what they could to help us. So,
At what point did you kind of start leaning to rough stock?
Well, I guess really Robert kind of the older we got, I guess because you kind of start out with the calves and steers and stuff like that, and then get into the bull ride, and then you start riding broncs, and as you turn from junior to senior, what have you. And I guess when you get all done, Robert would have been the one that really got us riding broncs and like that. Daddy, he pulled everything together to be able to get him a bronc saddle, and so once he got started, like Robert was always riding the bulls, and Robert never did like bareback riding, and I didn't like the bull riding, but I'd ride barebacks, until we got to riding broncs. And then but Robert was he thrives on that calf roping too. And but through the high school, I think we kind of basically we all did everything, between bulldogging like that. I'm not near enough big enough to be a bulldogger, but you could play around it in the high school deal and like that with help from friends and stuff. Then we were able to do that too. But so Robert would have been the one that got us started riding broncs, and Danny had after Wanda, my sister, and I, after we graduated, my dad had already went to Wyoming like a couple years earlier, and Mom went to Wyoming and Danny went to Wyoming after Wanda and I graduated. Then Danny went to high school out in Wyoming for all 4 years of his high school career. So then it was just Wanda and I around there, and as Robert, I guess he was going to college, kind of going to college and stuff then, and we had a little board fence out there, and back when Robert was still around there, then we had between putting I guess that's kind of where we got in, like when we do the schools of riding the cows with our bronc saddles. That's basically all we had that we could ride around there was those dry cows that didn't have calves on them. We'd ride them with the bronc saddles. So that's kind of what we could do ourselves and really keep everything contained. So, but I guess it'd have been scary for anybody to see it probably, but I guess thank God we all survived. So
You're kind of just doing what you could with what you had.
Definitely, for sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I imagine too, if it was only you and your brother, it'd be a lot easier to, buck a cow, even with the bronc saddle, than have a horse going full speed. That'd be tough with just.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was. When you got in the horse deal, and we did that some, but we actually had a guy come out one time, and he was going to buy a couple of horses from us, and that's what Robert had a wreck like that weekend at the amateur rodeos or something, and I had to get on those two horses, and but really when you got all done, then it was just the two of us that was doing it, and we had those guys there, but so I was getting on, and Robert flank him, then he'd get on, and like that as a whole, I guess you our corrals was small enough that everything stayed pretty slow, or you was going to hit a fence pretty fast, and it was kind of like a gravel lot, pretty much. So.
He'd flank and then get on to pick you up.
Yeah,
Dang.
yeah. If you made it that far, you know. So however, but yeah, it was. I mean, to think that, I mean, it literally was a driveway with gravel and big old huge rocks that made the corral, you know, and the board fence was, you know, probably 8 foot high, you know, board fence with little slats, but you know, daylight between them about an inch, you know, so. You didn't have to worry about them jumping out, but it was a lot of fun.
What year was your first year in the PRCA?
Well, my rookie year would have been in '88, and Craig and I started our rookie years the same as in '88. I think Danny. I'm assuming Danny had to be in '87, and Robert probably was '86 or '85. That Robert. Because they both started before, even though Danny was a little bit younger. He went to college. Robert and Danny both went to college down there at Panhandle State, and so I guess they kind of got started a little earlier, and I was just at home at the ranch working, and they'd keep coming through there and, come on, Bill, let's go. And so I guess finally after a few years, I decided we need to try it, you know, but it was.
Is them going to Panhandle State what kind of drew you down to Oklahoma?
No, it was just rodeoing. I was just rodeoing then. When I left the house, I was rodeoing. It you know, I guess I had left for a little bit, like 6 months the year before, to just kind of try to make a little bit of decision on something else to do, and not. I didn't really want to be picking rock my whole life, and part of our farming ranching deal was picking rock out of the fields, you know, and
really?
So, oh yeah, and so like that, I didn't want to be a tractor driver. I mean, I know how to do it, and you know all that, but I don't want to be I didn't want to be a farmer at that time. I didn't want to be a farmer, and I wanted to be a cowboy, and so I had taken a little bit of a time off, and I left, and I went with Robert in Savannah, Missouri, and Sue, and I stayed there for about 2 months.
How old were you?
Well, I had to be somewhere around, you know, I've never really put a pencil to all that, but probably somewhere around 23 or so, probably. And so I went and stayed with Robert and Sue, and we was training calf horses day in and day out for about 60 days. And then I went with Danny, was going to college in Goodwell. And so I went and stayed with him for a month or two when I was working at the sale barn there. And then I left there and I went to Mom and Dad's in Wyoming. And I was there for a month or two and stayed with them. And then I went back to the ranch and was going to nestle down, and decided as well as time to just take over the ranch, because I guess it just kind of grew up thinking that you couldn't make a living, you know, being a cowboy or riding broncs and stuff like that. Just kind of grew up thinking you can't make a living doing that. And you know, I was I guess probably 24 probably at the time, and it
Taking you back.
Jesus, that's terrible. So anyways, get back talking here.
Yeah, that's all right.
So what? Anyway, I decided once I got back, then oh, dang, sorry.
That's all right. You want to take a moment? You can. You're fine.
If I can get it cleaned up here quick, but it's because the rest of it's history now.
Yeah.
So, you know, so that's anyway, I finally decided that it's time to go. And, anyway, I think so, oh, jeez. So, anyway, dang. That's terrible.
That's all right. No, it's
Sorry, guys. So anyway,
don't be sorry.
I finally got decided that I needed to go, so I went down with Robert, and so I was kind of I was trying to still help with the ranch a little bit, but I got to rodeoing with Craig. He was going to school with Danny there, and since Danny had already started in our rookie year, then Craig and I got, we could be buddied. And that time you could only buddy two at the time. You couldn't
Dang.
buddy four back in that day, and truthfully be in the same perf. And so Craig and I was going one way, and Danny and Robert was going another. And whenever it worked out, we'd kind of go back to South Dakota and help just a little bit here and there. And then thankfully, after I guess there and Robert and Danny making the finals in '88, and that was kind of one of those deals that we can make it.
Yeah.
We can do that.
Yeah.
So anyway, so then thank God all that worked out, and then in '89, Craig and I and Robert and Danny, we all made it to the finals, and we was struggling along. We was struggling, but we was having more fun than. We's having more fun than you are. I mean, you couldn't, to sleep in a truck all night and drive all day and sleep in the truck all night and drive all day again and do what we were doing. You'd think that would be torture, but we was having the time of our lives, just color us at a rodeo when we was happy, so thank God it all worked out and like that after years of doing that and rupturing the disc in my back in '92 and Express coming on totally changed our lives, so another just blessing after blessing to be able to make a living, to know that we can make a living doing it.
Yeah,
very blessed with it.
So you turned that theory on its head as far as cowboys being able to.
Yeah, you can make a living.
Turns out,
and
$3 million later,
and they could, they could, and like that. How great that everybody can make a living, such a great living right now, But it's like the sponsors that have come in here and made it great for the Cowboys, just like beyond great. Mr. Funk Express Ranch has totally changed my life, because I would have been done like the therapy guy that I was. He was. He wasn't a lightweight on the doctoring deal. He told Holly that I didn't have another 5 years left, and that was in '92. And that was after I'd won the world in '92, that I messed up my back, and he said I didn't have another 5 years, and then my last year at the finals was in '09, So between Express Ranches, Holly, just everything she's done to keep me together, and Mr. Funk, David Creel, my therapist guy, and even the Justin Cowboys, and I don't care, all the fans, the fans is what just keeps you driving forward too, because it's all their help, that helps you get you through every rodeo and to every rodeo, so I can't thank everybody for what they've all done. So
Express, and they've been with you since then.
Since '96. They picked me up in '96. I was their first cowboy in '96. And that's what
coming
Holly,
up on 30 years.
And it's big time blessing for us for sure. And just like that, Bob's been great enough to hang with us, and we do what we can to promote Express Ranches. And
well, you definitely do a good job of that, promoting it. I mean, it's everywhere now.
Well, we're trying. We're doing everything we can to do our part, like Holly and JC, between them running barrels and wearing the stuff and promoting them, and Treg roping and doing it his way, and then between the Wright boys and Donna Kay, and but anybody that's ever been tied into Express is it's great people through and through, and that's what takes it. Keep it all together and keep it running is great people.
Yeah, and they've what all services they offer. I know they've got some amazing horses.
Yeah, the Clydesdales. Yep, between they compete.
That's what I think of whenever I see them.
And do the parades and just all the kind of stuff like that. But they got the the personnel service, so that's a big part of everything. They've got multiple entities of different businesses, but yeah, there's if you're if you've got a dream and if you can talk to Mr. Funk, then he may just try to make your dreams come true, and I was blessed to be able to be one of them that he made a dream come true.
He was like just a big fan of rodeo, and
Well, he is and was and always will be.
Right.
And but just the whole heritage of the cowboy, of the ranch life, the cowboy, and just good, honest people and working and he didn't really care what you are as long as you're good and honest and keeping that heritage of life, of really making the old world go around good.
Mm-hmm. So backing up, tell me about, was there a specific incident where you did hurt your back, or was it gradual?
Yeah, well, this is what's really bad. Well, and I probably kind of sorted up it. I don't really recall what was before Tucson, because it was a rodeo before Tucson. It might have been just a little bit sore. I don't remember being sore though, but I was young then. I was 24 years old, or 25, I guess, 25 years old, I think. And anyway, when I knew something was wrong, then we were sitting and they were having like a Winston camera shoot deal down in Tucson, and we was down there for the rodeo, and Craig was going to get on just practice, and he was wanting to practice, and they were having the shoot for Winston, and so Craig was going to ride, so we were just sitting there on the fence watching Craig ride, and it was kind of a little bit chilly that night, and I was sitting up there on that fence, and everybody, I've kind of always had everybody, you hear through your life, when you sneeze, don't bend over. Well, I was sitting on the fence and I sneezed and it blew my disc out right there.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. So I didn't get to ride it. I couldn't even crawl off the fence down there at Tucson.
Right then.
Yeah. Just right then.
A sneeze.
Yeah.
At 25 years old.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah. So that's why I tell everybody, don't bend over when you sneeze, because you may regret it. So
wow.
Yeah. So it was one of those deals, but and like I say, it might have been sore before, but I don't remember it being sore at all up to the point that
maybe
that
there
happened.
was some. Yeah. I woke up Wednesday, and a week ago today, and my back was crooked and excruciating pain. My disc didn't, I didn't. Because you, not even just a herniation, but you hemorrhaged it, right?
Right. Well, at least from my understanding. So it was like protruded out. And I would go riding, and then I'd be, I'd get on one horse and I'd be back home, and I'd wait 2 or 3 weeks and I'd go out. But they kept telling me there wasn't nothing wrong. Finally, I found a guy, and anyway, he found it, but they did the surgery. And then I think it was, I don't remember. It was 6 months, or I guess it would have been about 6 months, because I was still able to make the finals after that. But that they cut that protruded part out, and I did after that, I was walking 4 miles every day, and doing the crunches and the dog points, and I was doing all that stuff every day. It didn't matter what was going on. I was doing my exercises, because just like that, my therapy guy said, if you're not doing this and you don't take care of this, you will be done. And, and it would have been done, he was positive I wouldn't last 5 years, but.
You showed me those before. I don't know if you remember, we were at that big rodeo deal with the 5 arenas in Oklahoma.
Right. Yeah.
And because I'd had a similar injury. And
right.
Well, my doctor told me this last week. So my surgery, though, was like 6 years ago. Well, I stopped doing those.
Right.
And he's like, hey, you can't really stop doing those.
Yeah.
You got to keep them up.
Yep. Yeah.
Turns out, even years later.
Yeah.
To some degree. He said you don't have to do them every day, but.
Yeah.
So you stayed consistent in doing that for 14 years, though.
Yeah.
So that you could continue. Moving on in.
Yeah. Yeah, I was. That's what no matter what, I was going to get that done, because if I didn't, I was home now, and I was sore and at home, and then I'm not making a living.
Right.
So
So you went on, I mean, man, 14 years more of rodeo after that. So Holly's with you at that point. And what did rodeoing look like, late 90s into the early 2000s for you?
it was great. Or
Yeah.
I mean, I like that. You still had. I don't remember what years. I had different years that. Like I've been out here at the finals where I couldn't ride a stick horse to water. I mean, I've had great finals, and I've had some where it was terrible. I came in. I know at least once. I think twice. I came in with casts and pins in my hand. Of which isn't necessarily that big of a deal, but you got to have somebody helping you get everything ready and doing this and that. And, I think I'd, maybe drew a check or two so, but like that, it's just an honor to be there. We fought all year to get there and just go in there and try to do what you can do, but
21 trips in there. I feel like, man, that's 210 bucking horses in there. And I'm sure a few re-rides.
oh yeah. Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to know that building better than anybody. I feel like.
Well, I don't know. It's just such an honor to be there. But, and just like that, the people that fill it up and the people that got you there, and to be able to do it. Yeah, I love riding Broncs but like that, just like even coming out here today, and all the people that you see and shake hands with and you don't see for a year or better, and just like that, I get to come out here, and that's where I'm going to see you every year, is right out here at the finals, and even if people that I haven't seen for 15 and 20 years, that's where you're going to see them, is right out here at the finals, so it's being able to ride in there, that's a high that, I would have to say it's just unmatched. It's just the best of the best for me, a cowboy or bronc rider. And it's great. The stock that they've got now is just phenomenal. The breeding programs are just unreal. There's more people getting into it as far as sponsorships and stuff like that, and it's just great that you can really go make a true living and really as a whole. There's so much money out there now that the sponsors are getting better and better, but now I think everything's so well that I don't know. I mean, if you had somebody winning just like Stetson, you got somebody winning, you don't even need sponsors. They're making enough money now, they don't probably truthfully don't even need sponsors to really survive, where back in our day, you basically, I mean, you could survive, but you were just paying for the next year. You wouldn't, but if, you'd really have to be winning first everywhere you went if you were doing that. So,
which you were doing. So.
Well, I had some pretty good years. Unlike in '92, I mean, I had a good year. Actually in '89, I had a really unbelievable year for a rookie year. There, Johnson was winning the world there, and I think I came in 15th. And my finals was, I got lucky enough, blessed enough that I had, I think I was second to Clint. Like if Clint wouldn't have messed up, of which Clint's not going to do. He's the master. I mean, he's what a great rider, and all that,
right.
But if he would have messed up and fell off or missed a horse out or whatever, if he wouldn't have no scored, then I would have won the world that year. So excuse me.
Dang.
But
what, after going 21 times, like how was there a point in there? I mean, what is it that kept you rodeoing for so long? Like what was the thing that was it at 10 NFRs where you thinking, this might be enough, or like what kept you going?
Yeah. Just the love of the game and the people, just everybody that, like that, everybody. I had a team of people around the world, they're going to help you do anything and everything, and like that, Holly was pretty sure that she was going to keep me going until I was 50, you know,
Yeah.
and she got pretty close, you know, but like that, I felt good. You know, I loved to do it. The whole family loved to do it. And it was really, you know, it was definitely more fun when Robert and Danny Craig was all going, you know, it was definitely more fun. But like that, it was, you know, I had I mean, they were still with me 110%. And then I started rodeoing with other guys, you know, and like that, I wasn't going to as many rodeos, and Holly was at home with the kids. And so you got 3 kids, and like that, I would, instead of going to 150 rodeos, like when I first started, you know, I was only going to 30 rodeos. And, you know, I was flying out, you know, I was getting on Southwest and flying out, and I'd be back just as soon as that one was over, and I'd be around the house for a little bit and fly
Yeah.
out again. So I was trying to be home as much as I could. And, you know, I probably, there the last few years, I'm, you know, I know at least 10 years, I probably sure wasn't going to I wasn't going to 50 rodeos, you know. So more around 30 rodeos I was going to.
Yeah, rodeoing looked a little different.
Yeah, it was hard to leave. You just didn't want to leave Holly and the kids. So
Yeah. I hope you're enjoying this episode of the Rodeo Time Podcast. I'd like to thank our sponsors. That's what makes it possible for us to have these conversations. Total Feeds is the feed of choice for the Etbauer family, for their horses, and Express Ranches. So check out a Total Feeds dealer near you and follow them on social media. They've also got a podcast. Big thanks to Total Feeds. And also Ranch Fuel. Use code Dale on ranchfuel.com for 15% off, old son. Let's get back to Billy. Was it 2006?
that I ruptured my disc.
No, when you got on Cool Alley.
Oh, well, I got on her in 2003 in the, I don't remember which round. I think the 3rd round or 4th round at the finals. And I was 93 on her there. And then in 04, I had her, she was horse of the year in 2004. And I had her in the 10th round. And like that, I had to ride her in order to win the world. And I think Cody Demas was, I think maybe second to the world. Like Cody, if I were to fall off, then I think Cody was maybe going to win the world. And anyway, then thankfully I just barely made it, but we made it. But
that trip was so wild. I mean, that, and because that's in the TV pin.
yeah, definitely, yeah, that was and she like that. She was just a great big old huge, and then another one of those 1,500 plus pounders, you know, and just a great big old huge bucker. And that's what she bailed out of there and bucked, and like she kind of set me up there for the kill. And like that, thankfully I was there basically right at the tweeter, and like that, when like just as soon as that tweeter blows, then I fall off of there and land on my back and separate ribs, you know. So thankfully it was the 10th round, and you know, it was all good because I felt like $1 million after that. It just took me a little time to catch my air. So
See, I thought maybe you were just kind of like trying to sell it a little bit.
yeah.
You could have made the pickup man. You just wanted to sell it.
Yeah.
Because that was probably the last Bronc of the night too.
Yeah, I
So,
believe so. You know, I don't quote me on that, but
That was
I think it probably was. Yeah.
nail biter.
Yeah.
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 And
because I know Cody, when I walked out, when I got up, you know, and I walk out of there, Cody was the first one to congratulate me, you know. So
Right.
that just, you know, that just a great guy, you know, and like the whole thing is just being able to kind of all for one for all, you know. So just.
Was there another one of the titles that was like a nail biter like that meant as much to you?
Well, they all meant a lot. I mean, just like, you know, like Robert winning the world, you know, Robert won the world in 90 and 91. And, you know, like that, it was kind of like what we said before, the blessing to be able to make, you know, that you knew that you were able to make a living riding broncs, you know. And so like that, for Robert to win the world, well, yeah, we can do it. And then he does it again, you know. And then I was lucky enough to win it in 92, and you know, then 96 was an unbelievable year. for me too. I mean, every year, as far as I'm concerned, if you make the finals, was really an unbelievable year. But '96 was kind of unheard of. Express had picked us up and or picked me up, and I just got on a roll. And I had another friend that was kind of driving me around like to the winter rodeos, and I don't want anybody to quote me on this, but like that year, I think I won Houston and I won San Antonio and won Fort Worth. And you just keep counting your blessing after blessing. I'm not sure that I didn't win Denver too. And it just got on a roll that winter, just like it just kept on a roll. And it when it got all done, with the year, then I end up winning the world, and that was one of the years that I won the average on 9 head. I think I won the average lucky enough twice, but both times that I did it, it was on 9 head, because like even getting to the finals, that no matter what, I'm never going to try to safety up and hang on to one, I'm not going to worry about that average. I'm going to just let it take care of itself. And
yes, sir.
so like that, every time I win the 2 times that I won the average, it was on 9 head, to just go at them. And if I fall off, I fall off, but I want to be trying to win, every time I'm nodding my head. So
how many of the world titles did you win after your injury?
Well, it would have been basically let's see, I won the world in 92, 96, 99, 2000, 2004. So it would have been 92. I was healthy in 92. So it was after that. So 96 and 2000, 92, 92, 96, 99. So 99, 2000, and 2004. So my last 4 titles was after the surgery. Yep.
So he said you had 5 years left. Little did he know you had 14, and 4 of those you'd win the world.
Yeah. Well, but like him, he was the guy that could get you there. He was the guy that he didn't think, and like he didn't tell me that. He's not going to tell me that I'm not going to last 5 years. He told Holly that.
Gotcha.
So he tells Holly, he's going to be lucky to last another 5 years, because, they knew what I wanted to do,
Gotcha.
But when that therapy guy comes out and he's jacking with you, and you go see him, you can't even walk, and I'm so sore that I couldn't do nothing. I go home and I see him, and he pulls this, he was just jacking with me, but he pulls out this needle, and it's about 6 inches long, and he steps out of his office, and really what he's doing, he's just putting some solution in it that he's going to put in a little cotton ball thing and put on me. He steps out of his room with that big old needle, and squirts a little bit of juice out of that thing. And he looks at me and smiles, and says, "You trust me?" And so it's pretty hard to say that you trust him, when they step out of there with that big old long needle like that, But that was kind of the humor of him, and like he was, he every year I come to the finals when I got hurt, I knew him before that, but I really got to know him. Holly grew up with him, and anyway, but he would come out to the finals every year, so. If I had trouble, he knew how to fix me. He could get my back settled down where, I could keep it maintained, because he was my daily, every time I'd go home, that's where I was at. I was down there spending time with that guy. So, he was just one of those, you can't say enough about what he did for me.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. It sounds like you're super grateful for all the people that you had in your life that helped you keep going down the road.
Oh, yeah. I would have never been able to do it without them all.
I want to talk about on the Bronc. Just what your mentality was in terms of just your never quit mentality that is so obvious when you're riding. Like you can just tell that, and everybody, cuts to everybody knows the cool alley ride, but really just your entire career, like just on that bucking horse, the fight that it takes to ride the buckers. Where did you go mentally, day in and day out throughout your career that kept you in the fight?
I don't know, not smart enough to do anything different, I guess. I don't know. Like that, I don't know if I really changed anything. I either wanted to win or get bucked off. I mean, and the rest didn't matter. The ground didn't scare me, and still to this day, my opinion is if you're scared of that ground, then you're done. That you can't be scared of that ground. You just go at them. So I mean, every time I got on, it didn't matter what I had or where I was at. Was try to spur them out for 2 jumps and try to make sure your feet are set in the neck. Every jump after that. And it was never done. I never got off one thinking that was perfect or that I couldn't have done any better. There was always I could have rode every one of them better. So it was. I love to ride broncs, and like that, everybody that helped you along the way just made it that much more fun, and like that, I wasn't scared of the ground, and just I wanted to win.
Was there a switch though? Because you're such a calm individual, like when you're just talking and, like I wouldn't, and maybe your family may disagree, but I wouldn't necessarily call you aggressive in a crowd. You're very easy tempered, I would say. But you ride these really ranked bucking horses, so is there like a switch that you turn on in the chute, or do you stay pretty calm throughout the ride and then you just execute fundamentals in a calm state?
Well, I think it's that. It's just that. That trained muscle reaction, that you really can't think fast enough to ride, especially if they're moving around and doing stuff, that you really can't, you can't think fast enough. So you're not truthfully thinking, it's just that reaction, you got to react. But no, I think you're going to get more, you've got to be the aggressive, but you've still got to be like really loose in there too at the same time, so, I mean, I guess I'm going to kind of get it. You would say kind of like, even like at the house, if a horse blows up with you or something, that right at that point, you got to get in that fight mode, where, yeah, you're in that fight, and you're going to win that fight. And, but like that, just as soon as the fight's over, then it's all good.
That's a good point. That's a good analogy. It seems to me, how do you feel about bronc riding today? It seems as though there's so many new bronc riders.
Oh yeah,
are you seeing
awesome.
that?
Oh yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, no, and like that, how great the horses are, and all these kids that are riding so good, and yeah, it is. It's exciting stuff. Like that. I don't know. It's just great,
Yeah.
and like that. You can. I guess you can kind of tell who's really going for it, and who is kind of scared of that ground, and who's not. And you've always been able to tell that, But there's kids out there, that are just like that. They're not scared of that ground, and they're going to come at them, and hopefully they can stay healthy and keep it going.
Yeah, I was a couple of these guys that live at the house and will buck, and they're going to these Emmy rodeos around the house. It just seems like they're more and more loaded up with specifically bronc riders, and bareback riding is still, the numbers are up, I feel like, but they could use a few more. But I think anyhow, it seems like those bucking horses, though, they'll weed out those ones, like you say, that are still
yeah. Well, and like that bareback riding, that's a lot harder on you, man. Mm-hmm. Once you get tied in there, and these horses are weighing 1,500 pounds plus, and man, to be able to tie your arm in there and do that is crazy. At least in that bronc riding, you're up there on the balancing, and as long as you can keep your old feet moving, and you can kind of survive and not get too banged up, but like that, sooner or later you are going to hit the ground, but you just got to be able to take it.
How much attention did you guys put on your saddles back in the day?
Well, the good part about my saddle, I rode a Salisbury 606.
606.
My whole career. So, and that's another one of those. Ty Cowan, his dad gave it to him. And Ty went to the Nestea Challenge in Oklahoma City in that saddle. And Ty is a big man. He'll weigh two whatever. He's huge. And anyway, so I rode that saddle my whole career. So when most people was breaking their saddle and going and getting a new one, because of the wood tree, and then having trouble after that. And well, this new saddle, they can't ride it. Well, if I was riding bad, I had the same old saddle, so I always knew it was just me because I never had to change saddles.
Did you ever even try a different one?
Yeah, I did. Well, right there at first, I did. I had. I kept. I was scared to death with Ty's dad giving him that saddle. I was scared to death that somebody was going to steal it. And like that, even when I got out of it, I would never leave that saddle, unless it was locked in the car, I would never leave that saddle. So I had sent it back to Ty, and anyway, I tried to ride a Hamley, and I don't know, there was 2 or 3 or 4 of them, but just the way the camels were in them, that I was always breaking my tailbone. And so that 606 was the only thing that I ever rode that wouldn't keep my tailbone sore. Well, and I didn't want to be wearing a pad in my pants all the time, So anyway, I called Ty, and, just like that, he was, they helped me my whole life, even practicing back in the day in high school and stuff like that. So Ty, he sent it back to me, and then after I won the world in 92, then he give it to me. And so then it was my saddle. So, well, I still wasn't going to leave it anywhere where anybody's going to steal it. It's either locked in the car or I'm watching it, And anyway, then I found another one, and I sent one back to Ty that was basically a replica of that one, but I still got the same old saddle hanging on my bedpost at the house.
You got it now?
Oh, yeah. And I let, Shade, he rode it for a little bit. He kind of tried it for just a little bit. Yeah, but I let him take it and try it for just a little bit because he was having a little trouble too, and so I just thought, he wanted to try it, so I let.
I'm sure it's maybe been recovered.
Oh yeah, more than once. Yeah, between the D's being done, and we've had to repair it a few times. But,
riggins and whatnot.
Going through 21 years of it, and then horses flipping over and on it and stuff, and but it like that, Lester, he did a great job of, he's really great with the fiberglass and stuff like that. So he rebuilt it to perfection and looked like brand new every time you get her back. So
dang, I didn't realize that I knew my dad early on would talk about Salisbury's, and when I was a kid, I saw, I knew he had one, but I didn't realize you rode it your whole career.
Yeah.
I thought at some point you had a doll.
Yeah. But no, earlier on when I was amateur rodeoing, and actually I think I rode one for just a little bit there before I got Ty's back. But it wasn't for very long. And like that, I kind of got along with the doll all right. It didn't bother my tailbone quite as much as the rest of them did, but I didn't.
Yeah, it's crazy. He's still making them.
Yeah, no, it is.
Yeah, that's maybe the most ridden saddle out there right now, but there's a lot of new ones popping up, but I always go back to a trusty old doll. You've mentioned the fans a few times, and I don't know, I mean, I'm sure everybody listening to this podcast is familiar with what I'm saying, but I feel like just as it's like Billy Etbauer and JB Mooney. It's just like this, the fans go nuts over you, and that's why I was assuming maybe you use that back alley in the exhibit hall whenever you're cutting through there. You always see my booth, just because I would just imagine just a mob of people. But when did that start? And I mean, it had to have been just so neat. But like, which NFR was it where they really like picked you up as just PRCA's Saddle Bronc hero?
Well, I don't know. I really think the whole crew, when Robert and Danny, Craig and I, when we all made the finals, I think, we always had a lot of support through that, but I think the four of us, because it was I'm sure there was kind of team guys before us, but to have three in the same family, and everybody riding broncs and being able to make a living doing it, I think that's really what got it all started, and I was just blessed to be able to, you know, make it through and be there longer than Robert and Danny Craig. I mean it took them to get me there and get me through it, and to do all of it. But it was them that the big fan base. It was the whole clan, I think, that pulled the fan base in. I was just lucky enough to be able to ride for them longer.
Yes, sir.
So,
Yeah, because you all had just such impressive careers. That had to be. Did you know? Did you really feel like you guys, the four of y'all, were essentially writing a chapter of history for rodeo at the time? Did it feel like that when you were rodeoing?
well, we didn't. I guess realistically, shy of somebody saying it, we didn't really think about that. It wasn't like we're trying to write history books. It was just great that we could all rodeo together and go make a living riding broncs, because that's what every one of us wanted to do, and that's what we were. That was just it. That's all we wanted to do. Whether as long as we were surviving and we was getting to do what we love to do, that's what that's what we wanted, and like to be able to, if it's in the history books, that just being able to make a living doing it, yeah, that's what a great history that you're able to do that.
What was the encouragement like, as far as like from your brother, if whether a ride didn't go your way or whatnot? Like what were those conversations like, helping each other out?
Well, that's probably what helped us the most, was having somebody that's not going to say, "Well, nice ride, and you didn't ride worth the dickens,"
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's probably where we really benefited the most, was because it didn't matter if you got mad, because you were still going to the next rodeo together. Nobody was getting out and going anywhere, and even like Craig, he got had a horse flip over on him at Cheyenne, and I kept rodeoing with Craig, or I kept rodeoing, and then after Craig got good, then I kept rodeoing for him. So like the limit of rodeos that year was 120, and I went to like 150 rodeos. So like my money wouldn't count, but I was still going with Craig because that's colored me at a rodeo.
You bet. Right.
So it was just
for love of the game.
Just color me at another rodeo, and I'm happy.
Yeah. This is unofficial, boys.
Yeah.
I'm here for fun.
Yeah.
Maybe playing defense.
Yeah.
So what year did they start allowing 4-man buddy groups?
Well, I don't remember that for sure. And like that, I'm not going to tell you that you couldn't buddy four, but they wouldn't necessarily keep you together. They would split you up.
Gotcha.
So then that always jacked with the entering part of it. So you didn't have to stay together. So I guess that's why I say that that we had to buddy two, because they had to keep two together. So no matter where you went, so just like that, Craig and I'd go one way, Danny and Robert go the other way, and Craig and I was with Tom Bodette, and Robert and Danny was at the Holiday Inn. So we were just bringing up the tail, breaking us in, hopefully getting to eat a hamburger that day, So
did you? When did y'all start doing those schools?
I think probably in we all would have made the finals in '89. It was either 90 or 91 that we started the school there at Goodwill, and I think Doc Gardner was the coach at the time, and Robert and Craig and Danny had all went to school there, and so all the scholarship money goes to those rodeo kids, and so we've done it every year, the second weekend in May every year for Harper, I think. And like I say, I don't necessarily remember for sure, but it was either 90 or 91
Yeah.
that we started.
So a lot of Bronc riders been through there.
Yeah, yeah, and especially I remember one year we had 70 plus kids there one year, and yeah, and it's a 4-day school, but we were bucking them from daylight to dark,
I
and
imagine.
it was, but it is a lot of fun. I mean, the people come out of town and they'll come sit there in the little grandstands they got and watch. You know, it's always good, and it's always fun to watch those kids and see them up and coming, and you know, you know, a few of the guys that made it out here, you know, went through Robert and Craig's, you know, through the Panhandle State there, and you know, so it's always fun to see that people the kids that come through your school and through the college and stuff to see them out there doing good too. So
yeah. Did and then later, and maybe it happened a lot, but you and Holly got to rodeo together. Was she running barrels some?
Yeah. I guess kind of the last 2 or 3 years, maybe 3 years. I think it was 2 years that. Well, I like that. I was only going to about 30 rodeos a year and kind of going to those bigger rodeos. But Holly was basically always home with the kids. But we had our stud PC Frosty bid. And then we had another black horse we called Panther, which was kind of a Bugs Live in 75 and out of our old no whistle stud that we had. But anyway, when the latter part of the year, I guess it probably would have been kind of like before Caldwell and Napa and Ellensburg, Walla Walla, all those before that. Then was it Cheyenne maybe that she headed out, because I flew back and I got in with her at Cheyenne, and we drove into Caldwell, and they kicked me out at Caldwell, and I think they went on to like Walla Walla, Holly and the kids, and I went a total different direction. So she was rodeoing one place, and she had that big old monster rig and those 3 kids and a stud and another horse, and she was trying to run barrels. But just like that, it was just it's that fan base that everywhere she'd go and she'd pull in with that rig, and I hadn't called anybody, you know, I was just rodeoing and take care of my deal, and she was, you know, just take care of those kids and that. But she always just like, you know, people, Rowdy Barry, you know, Mike Cotterill, you know, there's umpteen people that they would come and it's kind of like they would search her out. If you need anything, you know, we're here to help, you know. So we always had somebody, or she always had somebody that was taking her in and had a place for those horses or some place for her to plug in or what have you. So we got families all over the U.S. that in Canada, you know, anywhere really. I mean, we go to Australia in 97. They took me, invited me over to Australia, you know, and at that time we only had Cord, and so we took Holly and Gran and Cord, you know, and we had 2 families over there that we stayed with the whole time that we was over there, you know, just fans and friends of friends and stuff, you know. So there's just people all over the world that are good enough to pull you in and take care of you and just help you whatever you need, you know.
Well, I know y'all went to Ponca City because I were there together. And I slapped your horse out for you.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
You had asked me. Everybody's got that story though that connects them. You know, my dad said that he went with you to he rode with y'all to Dallas one year or something, but just like one time. But he was it just made me think. I was thinking a while ago, like that's probably, you're one of those guys that somebody walks up to you and either they have this connection story from 16 years ago or they know someone who does, you know,
right,
they're always bringing it up.
Right.
And anyhow, I'm sure sometimes they're probably being honest, and then sometimes they may, you know, it's just like, I don't know if that happened.
You get on some stories, but I know there's been like, especially like horse deals where somebody will buy a horse from Robert or Danny and say they got it from me, well, I've never had that horse.
Yeah. I'm not, yeah.
So, but yeah, there's always stories like that. But like that, that's great, because just like that, it all just like me saying that rodeoing with Robert and Danny and Craig, is really what made the whole thing. I was blessed to make it longer than they did. But, when you get all done, it was the whole deal, because everybody kind of looks at all of us as kind of one unit.
For sure.
We're kind of all one, and like if they meet one, then that's the one they met,
Bet.
So
yeah, they feel like maybe they've met the whole team.
Yeah, and I've been called that Robert and Danny, multiple times, and that's great. We just appreciate everybody helping out and all the support.
People do that same thing with me and JB.
Right?
Yeah. Mix up all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
No, that's super cool. It's an honor to have you on the podcast. I just, like I said, I just wanted to, I thought about it months back, and I just wanted to bring you on. I'm one of those people in the stands that yelling for you or slapping your horse out
Well, I appreciate you having me on, and I appreciate this time,
Yes,
like
sir.
that, even like the first time. And like I got my old flip phone, my old chuck wagon phone, so I don't get to see everything you do and hear everything you do. I just kind of get everything through the grapevine, but just like that, I appreciate your support and stuff, just like that.
Yes, sir.
The more friends you have, and especially somebody that's having that much fun out there and promoting the rodeo sport and the whole lifestyle of it, and just thoroughly enjoying life, makes everything that much better. So I thank you for everything that you've done.
I appreciate that. I think that, Chris Ledoux had a couple songs that I've thought about in this podcast, but the one that a couple of might resonate is the 17. I'm sure that hits home with you. 17, and he's leaving out and he's ranching. The other one was the windshield's the painting that hangs in our room when you and Holly are going down the road. But the one that for me is, he's the one says, you just can't see him from the road. I can't remember what it's called, but he's saying like cowboys exist. You just can't see us from the road. And
right.
What my theory is with, for instance, bronc riding exploding lately is now with Snapchat and YouTube and the internet, you can see us from the road, and occasionally there'd be a Western movie that you get to watch, but now there's just so many people out with the internet that, and at rodeos, and people are getting kind of opened up to this lifestyle. And
right.
I've been saying it for several years, but I'm super optimistic about the future of the sport for that reason.
Oh, definitely.
If we can all kind of come together and, get our message unified and, but, anyhow, but yeah, you're definitely the, foundation that this sport has, you and the team, Robert, Danny, Craig.
Well, and like that, it's everybody. I mean, it's everybody that put me down the road, Holly, the kids, even now. Like that, like what I was saying, like Mike Cotterill, that friend of mine from Washington, I called him my limo driver for years, because I could be flying into Arizona to go to Prescott or something like that, and he'd pick me up at the airport because he was running around doing his business, and then I'd fly into St. Paul 4 days later, and he'd be up there and pick me up at Seattle at the airport, because he's still doing his business, but he's going to pick me up at the airport and take me to the rodeo at St. Paul.
Makes the whole world go round.
So just great people. And I've rode in a little bitty kid seat in the back of a car, being the smallest guy to ride the car. But we all got to shove in this car to get from the little, because we flew our little plane in there, that we leased, So we fly that little plane in there, and there's nobody along that road in the little Kansas area. And this guy stops. He's got this little kid seat in the middle of the back seat. Well, you can't. By the time you get 4 saddles in there and all the people, then that's what I'm sitting in, that little kid seat in the middle there. So, so it's times like, everything like that. But the people was just like that. They were good enough to stop and pick you up, and take you,
Do you have, we usually, towards the end of these, we wrap up with some life advice. And I'm just thinking about all the bronc riders out there, but just kind of some advice for somebody wanting to get into bronc riding, or maybe somebody that just got started riding broncs.
Well, just I guess you just got to be wanting it, and like that, you can't be scared of the ground, and you've got to. I would say go. There's so many schools and just even being able to watch rides, like whether you're watching the Cowboy Channel or you're just watching videos on your phone. There's having people that actually made a living doing it, being able to go to them, like just like our school in May, to being able to come to a school and get that true input on what to do and how to start out right and not get bad habits, and get somebody that's really a professional to try to get you help started.
Mm-hmm.
And like that, you just got to try hard and not be scared of that ground.
Yeah, not be scared of the ground. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, because really that's all that's down there. There's nothing else down there. There's not any alligators that are going to come after you.
Yeah.
One last question is just at what point, where did your faith really come into play? As far as have you always been, were you raised Christian, or was that something that I'm sure your folks were being?
Yeah, and like that, I guess I was raised Catholic, I guess, but I've kind of since been just non-denominational,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm when I guess they're like that. I've never been like the preacher type or nothing like that, but
Yes,
when you're fixing to try to land your plane and in fog, and you when you're at 50 feet and you still can't see the ground, and to think you come back up out of that and somebody wasn't watching out for you to get up out of that, uh, I would say you better have your faith there. So I guess I've always had God in my heart, and I've always believed that he will decide my destination and where I'm going and when I will go, and I just count the blessings that he's blessed me with between Holly and the kids, and you get me started again now, dang. And so just thank God for everything that I've been able to do to really be able to do what I love to do, and have the people around me to make it so great.
Yeah. It's funny you bring up the planes. That's what Trevor said. He said, he'd been on some planes and smoke in the cockpit or whatever had gone wrong. And he's like, man, you never imagine the different people that are all of a sudden a Christian on a plane that might be down.
Like, No, that's what Treg was asking me the other day. When we was flying in here, and the snow on the mountains and stuff, like that. And we're flying over these, and when you're, 50,000 feet up there, it doesn't really, there's not much to it. But when you're barely peeking the top of them things, and you're hoping that you're not icing up and you're going, or that you got tubes on your wings to knock that ice off.
Ooh.
That's like, you better
find your faith.
Yeah, you better have it and pray you make it to the other side.
Yeah. Not to mention the fact that you get on bucking horses for a living.
Yeah, that's the easy part there.
That's the easy part.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you coming on here, and you guys check out Express Ranches, and anything else you got going on they need to check out.
Yeah, well, we've got Holly and the guys. They're kind of starting the new. We've kind of got the. Have you ever heard of the LifeWave patches?
LifeWave patches?
Yeah.
No, I haven't. Do I need to get some?
Yep. That's what we got to get you started on that, and that's what we got, a little deal that actually helps you build your own stem cells. Your body helps it rebuild its own self. And
what can they find you guys on Facebook for that? How do we?
It's BillyEtbauer.com.
Easy
and
enough.
You can go to that.
Okay.
Yeah, and then there's multiple like that. If there's, they've got a, what do you call it, a Q card or QR code that we've got. That if a guy ever comes, like there's multiple things that we've got. And bad part about this, a guy should be talking to Holly or somebody on this. But the LifeWave patches have really made a lot of difference on how I feel, as far as like I had bad hips, and everything's better on that, and my brain fog and stuff like that really helps people just naturally heal themselves up.
So it's a patch that you just put on?
Yep, it's just a little, like a quarter size patch, and you can kind of put it on anywheres.
How long does it last?
Well, basically you want to put it on 12 hours, take it off 12 hours, and
does it help with like pain and inflammation?
Yep. Yeah, everything.
Really?
Basically just everything that your stem cells will, to just regenerate your body and build, fixing its own stem cells,
Really?
or regenerating your old, like that, us getting older, like when you're, like say from 20 years to 30 years, then your stem cells just keep backing up. And then after that, then they're really backing up. So it's just regenerating those old stem cells.
Well, you're a good candidate to promote it with the career path that you're coming off of.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah. And like that, it's helped me so much, because just like my brain fog that I had last year coming out here versus what I have this year, and I figure I'm never going to be the brightest guy out there anyways, but to be able to, just the things that you remember now versus what you was kind of forgetting a little bit last year. And just like that, my hips really, when I was rodeoing, they never bothered me, so it was just lately, within the last year, that my hips was bothering me. And then, it was just in July when we found the LifeWave patches. And anyway, so now, like, my hips, they just basically don't bother me at all, hardly.
And we can buy them from y'all. Okay, on BillyEtbauer.com.
Well, yeah, you just get to BillyEtbauer.com or get a hold of us. Yeah, get a hold of us, me, or well, really, a guy needs to get a hold of Holly or Lacey or Dale or we just get a hold of us, and we'll get a hold of you to somebody here to get you lined out to get you.
Yeah, because I'm gonna need to try it.
Yeah, no, you need to. Yeah. And that's what I tried to. My mom and dad, everybody, especially a little bit older, the kids I don't necessarily worry about, because I knew how I was as a kid,
right.
But anybody that is older like that, they need as much regenerating as they can get. And so,
right. Yeah, kids will bounce like a basketball.
Yeah.
Just right back up and going.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. I'm excited to try that. So
yeah, I think that just like that, it's when you get in, the thing about it is everybody's got to give it a good honest try and give it a year. Don't throw one on and think it's gonna just fix you that day.
You bet. Okay.
Give it a true effort. And
90 days.
Yeah. Well, I'd say at least 90 days. As far as I'm concerned, you need to do it for a year, and then if you want to quit, then quit, but jump in there and
that's when
try
you
to give
probably
it a real
really
try.
See the difference.
Well, yeah, it's going to make that much
like,
more.
Oh
difference.
Man, that's what that was doing for me.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
well,
give it a true try.
You bet, I can do that for sure. Well, thanks again. My life advice would just be, when life hands you lemons, put a bull rope on them. So, that's mine. So.
Yeah.
Well, good deal. All right. Thank you, Mr. Billy Etbauer. And I'm Dale Brisby, and we're on to the next one.
Thank you.
Pow, pow.